Dozens joined a frantic search for survivors of capsized Indian boat. Hello, good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for joining us. I'm Berita RTM and you're watching World Today. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has told the United States that he opposes the establishment of a Palestinian state as part of any post-war scenario, underscoring divisions between the allies 3 months into Israel's relentless military assault on Gaza. In a nationally broadcast news conference on Thursday, Netanyahu pledged to press ahead with the offensive until Israel realizes a decisive victory over Hamas, and said he has relayed his positions on Palestinian statehood to U.S. officials. Netanyahu also said that in any future agreements, Israel needed security control over all territory west of the Jordan River. While the U.S. has vetoed United Nations resolutions calling for a ceasefire, it has called on Israel to scale back the intensity of its war on Gaza and said that the establishment of a Palestinian state should be part of the day after. Following Netanyahu's comments, U.S. National Security Advisor John Kirby said that there would be no reoccupation of Gaza after the war and emphasized that the U.S. remains committed to a two-state solution. Meantime, the Israeli occupation forces raided the city of Tulkarm in the occupied West Bank for a second day on Thursday, saying it had killed at least 8 people. The Palestinian Health Ministry confirmed that 6 people had died, and an organization which represents those held in Israel jails, the Palestinian Society Prisoners Club, said hundreds had been arrested over the 2 days. The Palestinian Red Crescent also said 4 people had been badly beaten by Israeli forces. The Israeli-occupied West Bank has seen a surge of violence in parallel to the Gaza war that erupted on 7th October. The Israeli occupation forces said it had arrested 2,700 Palestinians in the West Bank since the start of the war, and it said around half of them belonged to Hamas. Tulkarm, location one of the main crossing points between the West Bank and Israel, has seen repeated raids. The Israeli military said on Thursday it had carried out a more than 35-hour-long counter-terrorism operation in Tulkarm, killing 8 Palestinians, arresting 15, seizing weapons and destroying dozens of explosive devices. Now, Israel has broken international law with its relentless bombardment of Gaza that has leveled neighborhoods and killed thousands of Palestinians. UN Special Rapporteur on the Palestinian territories, Francesca Albanese, said this as Israel confronts a case brought by South Africa to the UN's International Court of Justice, accusing it of genocide. She said Israel has done a number of things that are highly illegal and highly unlawful. While Israel has the right to self-defense, she said international humanitarian law must be respected to protect people who are not actively involved in combat. This includes civilians, prisoners of war, as well as the sick and wounded. Albanese said this meant distinguishing between combatants and civilians and ensuring military attacks are proportionate to avoid excessive harm to civilians. Instead, what has happened is over 100 days of relentless bombing in highly crowded area. Most hospitals have been made dysfunctional, and there's not sufficient health infrastructure to cure the genocide victims of wounds. Special rapporteurs are not UN staff, but are independent experts named by the UN Human Rights Commission who monitor rights area. Yemeni Houthi group today claimed they had carried out a missile attack on a U.S. ship in the Gulf of Aden. The Houthis said in a statement posted on their social media that their naval forces had attacked the Cam Ranger with several appropriate naval missiles, resulting in direct hits. It did not give a time or other details for the latest attack in international shipping lanes. Houthi aggression against vessels in the Red Seas has led to strikes in Yemen by US and British forces, with the United States reporting its latest attacks on Houthi targets on Thursday. British maritime risk management company Ambry said the Cam Ranger was a US-owned Marshall Island-flagged chemical tanker. The monitor said there were no crew casualties or damage reported. Cam Ranger was sailing from Jeddah in Saudi Arabia to Shuhaik in Kuwait when it reported a suspicious approach by drones. The Houthis have launched and gradually increased attacks on Red Sea shipping since the Gaza war erupted. The Houthi statement said the rebels were acting against the oppression of the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip and within the response to the American-British aggression against their country. As the United States announced its latest attack on the Houthis on Thursday, President Joe Biden said they would continue until the Iranian-backed rebels stopped targeting ships in the Red Sea. Coming up next, Haiti capital under lockdown as violence escalates. At least 15 people, including 13 children, drowned when a boat capsized on Thursday in western India. Officials said the incident happened in Gujarat state as students were travelling to a picnic organised by their school. Dozens of people joined a frantic search for survivors around the lake near the city of Vadodara, where the boat capsized. Hospital Superintendent Ranjan Iyer said the victims included children aged as young as 10, along with two of their teachers. The cause of the accident was not immediately clear, but a Vadodara district official said that 27 people were believed to be aboard. Prime Minister Narendra Modi wrote on X that the local administration is providing all possible assistance to those affected. Fatal boat accidents are common in Indian waterways. Last year, at least 22 people were killed when their double-decker tourist boat capsized in the southern state of Kerala. Survivors of that accident told local media that many of the passengers were not wearing life jackets. Two suspects have been arrested on Thursday in connection with the murder of Ecuadorian prosecutor Cesar Suarez, who was allegedly targeted by a gang as the security forces continued interventions in prisons. Ecuador is reeling from a wave of violence, with President Daniel Noboa declaring 22 gangs as terrorist groups and a 60-day state of emergency. Incidents this month have included an attack by armed gunmen on the TC television station, the hostage-taking of more than 200 prison staff, and the kidnapping of police officers. Suarez, who focused on pursuing organized transnational crime in Guayas province, was attacked as he drove in northern Guayaquil by gunmen in two cars. Suarez was in charge of investigating the television station attack when journalists and others were briefly held hostage, as well as cases connected to corruption and drug trafficking. Police have collected 18 ballistic pieces of evidence and conducted raids in various homes, locating one of the vehicles. The other was found burned in another part of the city. Haiti's capital, Port-au-Prince, was on lockdown on Thursday as flaming barricades across several neighborhoods forced residents to shelter in place or return home in the latest flare-ups in chronic gang violence plaguing the Caribbean country. Streets were blocked off by burning tires and rocks, sending up huge plumes of black smoke in the sky across various parts of the city, according to Reuters eyewitnesses. Analysts say violence has been escalating for months and gangs jockey for power and seek to put pressure on interim Prime Minister Ariel Henry ahead of the 7th February expiry of a political accord that consolidated his power. Pierre Esperance of the Human Rights Network RNDDH said 24 deaths had been reported in Solino, an impoverished neighborhood, since the weekend. Henry faces multiple groups seeking to remove him from power, including Guy Philippe, a former rebel and convicted felon in the US.
There's currently no date set for a new presidential election.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan picked a nationalist former member of a hard-right party to run for mayor of Ankara in closely watched 31st March local elections. The Turkish leader named Turgut Altınok, a 62-year-old head of Ankara's working class, Kayseran district, as his candidate to take on incumbent Ankara mayor Mansur Yavaş.
Erdogan had earlier this month selected former Environment Minister Murat Kurum to challenge Istanbul's mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu in the polls. Most analysts believe Erdogan has a better chance of winning in Istanbul than he does in Ankara. Opinion polls consistently rank Ankara's current mayor as one of the Turkey's most popular politicians. Erdogan's Islamic Conservative Justice and Development Party AKP is trying to win back control of Turkey's main cities from the secular opposition Republican People's Party CHP in the nationwide municipal elections. The CHP rose to power in Istanbul and Ankara in 2019 elections that punctured the aura of political invincibility Erdogan has developed during his 21-year rule. Erdogan has set himself the goal of winning back both the cities along with opposition-held Izmir after securing re-election last year for a final 5-year term as president.
Canada yesterday formally gave the giant Arctic territory of Nunavut control over its reserves of gold, diamonds, iron, cobalt and rare earth metals, a move that could boost exploration and development.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau signed a devolution agreement in the Nunavut capital Iqaluit with Premier PJ Akigok, granting the territory the right to collect royalties that would otherwise go to the federal government. Nunavut, a region of growing strategic importance as climate change makes shipping lanes and resources more accessible, covers 2.1 million square kilometers but has a population of only 40,000. An almost complete lack of infrastructure means operating costs are exorbitant. Challenges include harsh weather, lack of infrastructure, high cost, major social problems, and a largely unskilled and undereducated Inuit Aboriginal workforce. Nunavut, created in 1999, was the only one of Canada's 3 northern territories that had not negotiated devolution. Nunavut is a home to some of the minerals critical for battery production. Canada has pledged billions in incentives to woo companies involved in all levels of the electric vehicle supply chains as the world seeks to cut carbon emissions.
Tens of thousands of public sector workers in Northern Ireland walked off the job on Thursday in what union bosses said could be the biggest strike in the British province.
The mass strike, dubbed a coordinated day of action, was predicted to cause havoc for already crumbling public services. It came with no end in sight to a protracted political crisis that has left Northern Ireland without devolved government for almost 2 years. Around 16 trade unions representing teachers, civil servants, nurses and transport workers joined picket lines and rallies in what trades union chief Owen Rady said was likely the largest industrial dispute in the history of Northern Ireland. The ICTU estimated that 170,000 of the 220,000 public sector union workers would stop work to demand the release of held-up funding for pay increases. Authorities said healthcare services would be severely depleted, though essential and emergency care would remain available.
An all-European crew, including Turkey's first astronaut, launched for the International Space Station yesterday with Axiom Space as countries increasingly look to the private sector to fulfill their ambitions in the cosmos. A SpaceX crew, Dragon fixed to the top of a Falcon 9 rocket, blasted off Kennedy Space Center in Florida at 21:49 GMT and should reach its destination early tomorrow morning.
Dubbed Axiom Mission 3, it is the company's third launch to the space laboratory and the first where all three of the paid seats were bought by national agencies rather than wealthy individuals. Turkish pilot and Air Force Colonel Alper Gezerevci is joined by Walter Villadei, an Italian Air Force Colonel who has previously flown to the edge of the space on a Virgin Galactic space plane, by Marcus Wendt from Sweden, who's also representing ESA. They are led by Axiom's chief astronaut Michael Lopez Alegria, a Spanish and US citizen. The Axiom 3 team will join 7 crew members currently aboard the ISS from Japan, Denmark, the United States and Russia, and carried out 30 experiments, learning more about the impact of microgravity on the human body, advancing industrial processes and more.
Coming up in sports, Australia into last 16 of Asian Cup as Palestine frustrated by 10-man UAE. A late equaliser by Rana Wahid Ashraf dashed Malaysia's hope of qualifying for the 2024 Paris Olympics when Pakistan came from behind to snatch a 3-all draw against Malaysia in Group A of the Olympic qualifier in Muscat, Oman on Thursday.
Striker Fitri Sa'ri gave Malaysia a flying start through a field goal in the 20th minute, but the lead stayed for only 3 minutes as Sufyan Khan equalised from a penalty corner strike. Malaysia restored the lead through striker Muhammad Azrai Aizat Abu Kamal's field goal on the stroke of a half-time after skipper Muhammad Marhan Muhammad Jali's penalty corner strike caused a lot of confusion in the Pakistan goal area. Sheikh Shahnaz charges once again equalised through Ahmabud just 3 minutes into the third quarter. Striker Muhammad Firhan Ash'ari once again put Malaysia ahead in the 40th minute, but Rana Wahid rescued Pakistan with a 52nd minute strike that gave them a ticket to the semi-finals. The result saw Malaysia failing to make the semi-finals after finishing at the bottom group with a single point behind leaders Great Britain, Pakistan and China. Malaysia will now be involved in the 5th to 8th classification match against Chile on Saturday.
The Harimau Malaya have put behind the painful defeat to Jordan in the opening match of Group E in the 2023 Asian Cup and are ready to make amends when facing Bahrain at the Jassim bin Hamad Stadium tomorrow night. Striker Darlock, who's determined to get on the score sheet in the next game, admitted there was a somber mood in the team for a couple of days after the 4-0 defeat to Jordan in the opening fixture on Tuesday.
However, the 33-year-old Sabah FC striker said the national players were ready to bounce back with a victory to revive their chances of advancing to the round of 16. Commenting further, Darren said he did not mind teaming up with any player in the attacking department, as the most important thing was to ensure the success of the tactical game plan. Meanwhile, defender Muhammad Shahrul Muhammad Saad said that an early goal against Bahrain, nicknamed the Delman's Warriors, would brighten Malaysia's chances of securing a victory. For the record, Malaysia have lost to Bahrain in their last 3 encounters since 2013, with the last meeting seeing Bahrain win 2-1 in the 2023 Asian Cup qualifiers at Bukit Jalil, Kuala Lumpur in 2022. Bahrain is currently ranked 86th in the world, while Malaysia is 130th.
Australia beat Syria 1-0 in their second Asian Cup match to maintain their perfect record in Group B yesterday after midfielder Jackson Irvine came to the rescue once again with the second goal of the tournament.
Roared on by their supporters, the West Asian side started the game on the front foot and nearly opened the scoring through Pablo Sobak, who hit the post in the 5th minute. But Australia quickly settled down and soon controlled possession, with most of the action in Syria's half, while keeper Matthew Ryan cut a lonely figure at the other end. After a goalless first half, Irvine gave Australia the lead in the 59th minute when he collected the ball on the turn inside the box and poked it past goalkeeper Ahmad Madanieh to silence the Syrians, who made up the majority of the 10,097 fans. Australia had a scare minutes after taking the lead when Moayyad Al-Ajan unleashed a strike from long range and Ryan nearly bundled the ball into his own net, but he quickly recovered to grab it before it crept over the line. Syria tried their luck from distance several times, but Australia held firm to move top with 6 points. Syria, meanwhile, have a point from their 2 games and will face India in their final group match on Tuesday.
Palestinian held 10 Man United Arab Emirates to a 1-1 draw in their Asian Cup Group C match at Al Janab Stadium on Thursday after Sultan Adil's opener was cancelled out by an own goal.
UAE took the lead in the 23rd minute when Adil scored with a leaping header, but their hopes of an easy contest thereafter went up in smoke when Khalifa Al-Hammadi received a red card for a foul on Palestine forward Ode Dabak. The UAE centre-back was guilty of holding and then pulling Dabak down in the box, and he was sent off after VAR review. However, Palestine's Tamis Sayam took a tame spot kick, which was saved by goalkeeper Khalid Asa. With UAE down to 10 men, Palestine took the game to the 2019 semi-finalists, and their persistence was duly rewarded 5 minutes into the second half when Badr Abdelaziz headed across into his own net to make it 1-1. Palestine were unable to make the extra man advantage count as their wait for a first win in the Asian Cup since their 2015 debut continues. UAE are still top of Group C with 4 points, while Palestine are third with 1 point, while second place Iran face bottom side Hong Kong tomorrow morning.
3 Malaysian representatives, including 2022 men's doubles world champions Aaron Sowyik and men's singles ace Lee Zijia, smashed their way to the last 8 of the 2024 India Open in New Delhi yesterday.
In the second round of the Super 750 tournament held in KD Jaraf Indoor Stadium, 4th seed Aaron Sowyik had no problem disposing unseeded Japanese pair Kenya Mitsuhashi Hiroki Okamura 21-10, 21-14 in 31 minutes. The current world number 4 will play Chinese pair Liu Yuchen Ui Suan Yi, who was stretched by another national duo, Goh Zifei Nur Izzuddin Rumsani 21-19, 17-21, 21-17. Now, meanwhile, Zijia stunned 5th seed from Indonesia, Jonathan Christie, 21-15, 21-13, to set up a date against 2nd seed Kodai Narauka, who edged compatriot Takuma Obayashi, 21-19, 21-17. In the meantime, independent mixed doubles pair Goh Sun Huat Siobhan Lai Jamie were also through to the next round after the pair prevailed against Chengxing Zhang Qi of China 26-24, 21-10 in 42 minutes. Tang Ji and Yi Wei, on the other hand, were shown the exit by former 2021 world champions from Thailand, Dachapov Pavara Nukroh and Sapsiri Taratana Chai, 19-21, 16-21.
Now moving to tennis, world number 1 Iga Swiatek battled back from 2 breaks down in the final set to beat Daniel Collins 6-4, 3-6, 6-4 yesterday and reach the 3rd round of the Australian Open for the 5th successive year.
Collins might be ranked 62nd in the world, but has a good record at Melbourne Park and beat Swiatek in the semi-finals 2 years ago before going on to lose to Ash Barty in the title decider. 4 times Grand Slam champion Swiatek has an excellent record against lower-ranked players, but really had to dig deep into her reserves to overcome Collins in a dramatic but scrappy 3-hour contest on Rod Laver Arena. The 30-year-old Collins faltered in her serve at key moments in the match, and Swiatek found her best tennis late in the decisive set to move on to the 3rd round clash with Czech Linda Noskova.
Meanwhile, third seed Elina Rybakina's bid to reach back-to-back Australian Open finals ended in disappointment as she crashed to a 6-4, 4-6, 7-6 defeat by unseeded Russia Anna Blinkova after a wild-discarding tie-break in the second round.
The big-hitting former Wimbledon champion began the match sluggishly as her ex-doubles partner capitalised with an early break, which proved enough for her to go on and wrap up the opening set. Blinkova built up the pressure and pounced on her opponent's serve again in the second set to take a 2-1 lead, but Rybakina responded with one of her own as the powerful duo were evenly matched after 8 games. Rybakina shifted up a gear and drew level at 1 set apiece before the players traded breaks freely in the decider, which was settled in a tie break for the ages as the gutsy Blinkova equalled her best Grand Slam performance. In another match, Emma Raducanu said she was struggling with a sickness during her 6-4, 4-6, 6-4 defeat by China's Yafan Wang in the second round of the Australian Open. Britain's Raducanu was returning to Grand Slam action in Australia after injury kept her out for almost 8 months. The 2021 US Open champion fought back to level the match at 1 set apiece, but struggled with a bout of sickness in the third set and had to have a medical timeout. Wang, ranked 94th in the world, will face 12th seed Zhang Qinwen in the third round.
In a men's draw, third seed Daniil Medvedev came from 2 sets down to beat Finland's Emir Razavori 3-6, 6-7, 6-4, 7-6, 6-love in a late Australian Open second round finished early this morning.
The Russian runner-up in 2021 and 2022 looked on course for an early exit, but finally overcame a tiring Razavori in a match which lasted almost 4.5 hours. In other results, Danish 8th seed Holger Rune suffered a 7-6, 6-4, 4-6, 6-3 loss to France Arthur Cazot, ranked 122, while Poland's Hubert Hurkacz, seeded 9th, battled through to beat Czech qualifier Jakub Mensik 6-7, 6-1, 5-7, 6-1, 6-3. Bulgarian 13th seed Grigor Dimitrov overcame Australia's Tanasi Kokinakis 6-3, 6-2, 4-6, 6-4, and Canadian 27th seed Felix Auger-Aliassime prevailed against France Hugo Grenier 6-1, 3-6, 6-1, 6-2.
Kejohanan bola sepak Piala Asia Qatar 2023. Kesebelasan terbaik Harimau Melaya kini bersedia untuk memburu tahta berprestij di Asia. Sabtu 20 Januari, Bahrain bertemu Malaysia 10 malam di saluran OK dan saluran sukan RTM. Saksikan juga secara pensterima langsung di RTM Klik bersama RTM, official media partner.
76 minit tanpa henti, 76 minutes non-stop. Transparent and concise. Paparan komprehensif, ringkas dan padat. Saksikan Kanta 744, 7.44 malam. Berita perdana 8 malam. Malaysia Tonight, 8:30 p.m.
Alright, so that concludes today's edition of World Today. In our top story, Netanyahu vows no Palestinian state after Gaza war. Till then, I'm Shuhaida Arifin. From river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you for watching.